Hey everybody, welcome to the Gaming X. We are here to provide the best in Xbox One, PS4 and Nintendo Switch reviews and news. Now if you're new here and like what you see today, consider hitting subscribe. Today we're taking a look at Max the Curse of Brotherhood in its final release for the Nintendo Switch. Now this was originally released back in 2013 by developers Press Play for Xbox 360, PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Now the question remains, was it worth bringing this one back or should it have been left in the past? Let's find out. So story, Max the Curse of Brotherhood is a cinematic adventure filled with action-packed platforming and creative puzzle solving. Now you're armed with only a magic marker and Max must confront evil at every turn in this hostile and fantastical world to save his kid brother Felix. Felix gets kidnapped after you cast a spell found online, wishing him away. Now the setup is great and I was excited to see this story develop and further cutscenes. Unfortunately though, the story is left largely undeveloped past this initial kidnapping. The animation and opening was so good and I just wished for more development with so much potential on display. This is a setup for the gameplay, but there's no payoff in a progressive story tying in this amazing environment. So graphics. Max the Curse of Brotherhood is a beautiful game. It contains a multicoloured and creative world. The sprites and the animation on Max are just fantastic, and having played this back at release on PlayStation 4, I can still say it's lost none of its original charm. The colours pop and animated sequences leverage the style to truly make this a unique title. This is 3D sprites contained within a 2D platformer, and for the majority it really works. Obstacles are clearly visible on screen and placed within a world that feels alive. This definitely though works best in the handheld variants for the Switch. This is morning cartoons in the palm of your hand and you are the director. Now I do want to give a word of warning here, don't be fooled by these cute graphics. They're going to give you a false sense of security. What is actually contained is a challenging and unique puzzle platformer. So gameplay. Max starts off simple enough, it's a basic platformer as you chase after your kidnapped younger sibling. The game though is quick to accelerate that learning curve and it introduces the main feature of Max, your ability to draw within the environment to help with puzzles and navigation. Now this is in the form of a giant magic marker which you can progressively power up as you go through the game. Now previous frustration for this title was largely in this unique gameplay mechanism. Thumbsticks just didn't have the precision to support the idea. The result was a good idea in a frustrating execution. Now playing it on the Switch, I can say it was ahead of its time. In this area, the Switch really succeeds in providing a definitive control scheme thanks to that touchscreen. This is the precision and execution they clearly desired. They finally found the execution for the idea. Now drawing on screen can be anything from lifting platforms, connecting objects like ropes to swing upon, or simply using the environment to defeat enemies. This is not an optional control scheme, it's absolutely necessary to finish this title. Unfortunately the same can't be said for all control mechanisms here, and that's in the core platforming itself. Max just has a lack of abilities and what appears to be 1% of health at all times. This is an insta-death title, but it feels cheap tricks often determine your fate. The lowest of ledges would often result in my demise, or objects just slightly off screen kicking into action, such as a boulder that would roll towards you, but it gives you no time to understand and analyse the situation. It relies on a trial and error mentality too frequently for you to succeed. Now additionally, the platforming itself has moments of frustration in the simplest of executions. For example, swinging on a rope, simple enough but misjudge your jump away from that rope and try to navigate back, and it's going to result in death. He doesn't instantly grab back onto the rope, everything is one chance only. Finally, repetition in the gameplay itself. While the graphical style kept me engaged, there just isn't enough variance here in the gameplay. By the time I made it to the end, boredom had kicked in. I was playing more for completion than pure enjoyment. The game has some fantastic puzzles and chase sequences, but towards the end, these are just linked together by too much repetition. It feels like moments of excellence connected by sequences of copy and paste. The puzzles are enjoyable and paired with a new control scheme, it's by far the best they've been. I just wish they'd cut out some of the filler to make a more concise title, instead of opting to force that longevity. Unfortunately, my final point is a big one. There's consistent frame rate issues throughout. The frame rate doesn't seem to stutter quite as much when you're using it as a handheld variation, and this is by far the best way to play. So sound and music, and there's not too much to say here, but with the limited amount of storytelling we do get, the sound is great. Live action dialogue truly reflects the characters and graphical style alongside the soundtrack. In game it is largely ambient, but they've clearly put effort into sequences to embody the circumstance. Chases have all the intensity you would expect, for example. And then there's the sound effects, and these are attached to all interactive objects. It's a well done audio field, and while it won't stick with you after you put the game down, you won't be disappointed. So our final verdict, Max the Cursed Brotherhood is a good game trapped in a world of filler. Moments will stand out as you draw on the tablet and watch that world move in time and come to life. It's a fantastic control scheme that has finally found a console capable of matching its ambition. Now the occasional shining moment and sequence finds its way to the player, but it just can't do enough to keep the engagement in place. This title has some great moments of fun, and this can easily be considered a tech demo for your Switch. Not only is it in the gameplay and that magic marker, but the world design itself. This is original and unique and shows another great way the Switch can be used. Unfortunately, frustration from previous versions still remain. Now what I can say is I can easily recommend this version above any other console. Max has finally met his match in the Nintendo Switch. Now, the Gaming X awards Max the Cursed Brotherhood a 6 out of 10.